Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to, as always, really get into some fascinating stuff
Yeah.
today. We're diving deep into gold IRAs.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a ton of interesting material to dig into here. News, insights, guides, the whole 9 yards.
So for anyone listening who maybe hasn't explored this before, can we start with the basics? What exactly is a gold IRA?
Okay, so think of your typical IRA, right?
Mhm.
Individual retirement account.
Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Paper assets, as they're often called. Now, a gold IRA is a bit different. It's a self-directed IRA.
Self-directed meaning.
You have more control over your investments. And the big difference here is that instead of those paper assets, you're holding physical precious metals, like actual gold.
Wow. So like gold bars and coins in my retirement account.
You got it. And it can also include other precious metals, silver, platinum, palladium, the real deal.
But I'm guessing it's not as simple as buying some gold coins online and sticking them in a shoebox, right? Uh-huh. Not quite. There are rules, of course. This is where custodians come in. They're specialized financial institutions that handle all the logistics and legalities of a gold IRA.
So they make sure everything's by the book, IRS approved, all that.
Absolutely. They handle the paperwork, the storage, the whole shebang. They even ensure your metals are kept in secure, IRS-approved depositories. Can't just stash them under your mattress, unfortunately.
Makes sense. So the big question, the whole reason we're doing this deep dive today is why are gold IRAs being talked about as potentially so beneficial, especially in a world that feels increasingly volatile?
You hit the nail on the head. And one of the most consistent themes we see throughout our research is this idea of gold as a safe haven during times of economic uncertainty, like a rock in a storm.
Yeah, we've all seen how quickly things can change, markets can plummet, and even traditional investments can lose value. That's where gold seems to come in.
It's seen as this store of value that can withstand the test of time, the ups and downs of the economic roller coaster.
Historically, whenever there's been a major crisis, people flock to gold.
Exactly. And we have a perfect example of this from the 2008 financial crisis. Remember that?
Ah, how could we forget?
Well, while the stock market was taking a nosedive, gold actually held its value, even went up. It was like this anchor of stability in a sea of uncertainty.
Right. And that wasn't just some random fluke. It's because people lost trust in institutions, worried about things like quantitative easing, and they looked for something solid to hold on to. Literally.
And that's a really powerful idea for anyone thinking about their retirement. If you're concerned about market volatility, which, let's face it, who isn't these days, having a portion of your retirement savings in something tangible, something with that long history of resilience, can be incredibly reassuring.
It's like having a backup plan, a safety net for your future.
Right. Now, beyond just being a safe haven, the research also points to gold as a really powerful hedge against inflation.
Inflation being the big monster under the bed that everyone's talking about these days.
Unfortunately, yeah. And what we've seen historically is that gold tends to have an inverse relationship with inflation. So as the cost of goods and services goes up and the purchasing power of our dollar decreases, gold prices tend to go up.
It's like a natural counterbalance.
Exactly. And again, we have a great historical example. The 1970s. Remember all that crazy inflation back then?
Oh, yeah, I've heard the stories. Disco balls and sky-high interest rates.
That's the one. Well, guess what happened to gold prices during that time? They went through the roof. Gold became a refuge for investors trying to protect their wealth from being eroded by those rapidly rising prices. It's directly related to how those inflationary policies were playing out in the real world.
So for someone listening who's worried about the impact of inflation on their retirement savings, it sounds like a gold IRA could be a way to protect their buying power down the line.
It's a way to ensure those hard-earned dollars don't lose their value over the long term. Now let's talk about another key advantage we keep seeing in the research. Portfolio diversification. This is a big one.
Yeah, we've all heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's it. And a gold IRA can be a really effective way to diversify because gold, as an asset class, doesn't always move in the same direction as stocks and bonds.
They sort of do their own thing. Sometimes when the market's down, gold is up and vice versa.
Exactly. That lack of correlation can add a layer of stability to your portfolio, especially during those inevitable market corrections. It kind of smooths out the ride, so to speak. But of course, the opposite is also true. If the stock market is booming, gold might not keep pace. And that's a trade-off to think about, as the research points out.
Right. So it's not a magic bullet, but it can be a strategic piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Now, another thing that really stood out in all the material was the idea of gold's inherent stability. It's been a store of value for literally thousands of years. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, it's like this timeless asset that's endured through empires and civilizations.
It's seen it all, from the Roman Empire to the digital age. And while paper assets like stocks or currencies can be incredibly volatile, gold has this intrinsic value that stood the test of time. It's been fascinating to see that play out in all the research.
It's almost like a hedge against human nature itself, you know?
Mhm.
Greed, fear, whatever drives those market swings, gold is just gold.
Exactly. And by putting some of your retirement savings into a gold IRA, you're essentially grounding a portion of your wealth in that long history of stability. It's like building a foundation on solid rock.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the why behind considering a gold IRA, but let's get practical. How does someone actually go about setting one up? What are the steps involved?
All right, step one is finding yourself a reputable gold IRA company. They're the folks who will guide you through the whole process, make sure everything is done right, and keep you on the right side of the IRS.
They're like the Sherpas for your gold IRA journey.
Uh-huh, I like that. They help you navigate the terrain. Now, once you've found your trusted guide, the next step is funding the account. And there are a couple of ways to do this.
Like what?
Well, you can roll over funds from your existing retirement accounts, your 401k, your traditional IRA.
Just transfer those funds over.
Yep, exactly. Or you can make new contributions. But keep in mind those annual contribution limits set by the IRS still apply.
Right, same rules as any IRA. Got it. And then, of course, comes the fun part, actually buying the gold.
That's right. Once your account's funded, you work with your Gold IRA company to choose and purchase the specific metals you want.
So, do I get to browse through a catalog of shiny gold bars? Is it like online shopping for bullion?
Kind of, but here's the catch, and it's a big one. The IRS has strict rules about the types of gold and other precious metals that qualify for a Gold IRA.
Like, not just any gold will do.
Nope. It has to meet certain purity standards. And this is where that expertise from your Gold IRA company is really crucial. They'll make sure you're buying the right stuff.
So, where does all this gold actually get kept? Do they ship it to my house? Because I'm not sure my home safe is quite up to Fort Knox standard.
Uh-huh. No worries there. You can't keep it at home. IRS rules. It all has to be stored in a secure, IRS-approved depository. And again, your custodian handles all that. They'll make sure your precious metals are safe and sound.
So, it's a very structured system, but it sounds manageable if you have the right people guiding you.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons. We've covered a lot of the potential benefits, but what are some of the drawbacks, things people should consider?
Right, because it can't all be sunshine and rainbows.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is storage fees. Those secure depositories aren't free. There's a cost to keeping those metals safe and sound.
Makes sense.
Another thing is liquidity. Compared to, say, stocks, selling physical gold can take a bit longer. So if you need to access your funds quickly, that's something to consider. And then there's the initial setup process, which can be a bit more complex than opening a regular brokerage account. It can involve more paperwork, more back and forth.
So it's not necessarily as quick and easy as clicking a few buttons online.
Not quite. But again, a good Gold IRA company can make that process a lot smoother. Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to any retirement account. Taxes.
Ah, yes, the inevitable tax man. What are the implications for gold IRAs?
Well, the good news is that generally, Gold IRAs have very similar tax advantages to traditional IRAs.
So potentially tax-deductible contributions, tax-deferred growth, all that.
You got it. You won't pay taxes on any gains until you start taking distributions in retirement.
But of course, there are rules, right? Penalties for early withdrawal, all that jazz.
Of course. Just like with traditional IRAs, if you take money out before age 59 and a half, you'll likely get hit with penalties and regular income tax. And as we talked about earlier, the IRS is very picky about the specific types of gold and other metals that qualify. Your Gold IRA company will make sure you're staying on the right side of all those rules.
Right, so it's important to have all that guidance. So let's say someone listening is intrigued and thinking, okay, this is something I need to explore further. What are the first steps they should take?
The most important thing, the very first step, is choosing the right Gold IRA provider. It's all about finding a company with a solid reputation, a history of great customer service, and real expertise in precious metals IRAs.
So do your homework, read reviews, make sure they're the real deal.
Exactly. Then, once you've found your trusted partner, it's time to fund your account. We talked about rollovers or new contributions. Your Gold IRA company will help you with all the paperwork and make that transfer as smooth as possible.
Right. And then finally, the gold itself. Choosing those precious metals. We mentioned those IRS purity standards. Anything else people should keep in mind?
The key thing is that your gold has to meet those IRS standards. Gold bullion bars usually need to be at least 0.995 fine, which means 99.5% pure gold. You've got things like American Gold Eagles, Canadian Gold Maple Leafs, and bars from reputable refiners.
Okay, so specific types of gold, specific purity.
Exactly. Always double-check with your Gold IRA company to make sure the specific metals you're interested in meet those requirements. And when we say 0.995 fineness, it means out of 1,000 parts, 995 must be pure gold.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. What are the main takeaways for our listeners today? The key points about gold IRAs?
Well, based on all the information we've reviewed, Gold IRAs offer some really compelling potential benefits, especially in an uncertain world. They could provide a sense of security for your retirement savings, a hedge against inflation, eroding the value of your hard-earned money, and they add diversification to your portfolio with a tangible asset that stood the test of time.
And it's all within that familiar IRA structure with the tax advantages we all know and love.
Exactly. It combines the best of both worlds.
So for everyone listening, the real question is, how do these potential advantages fit into your own financial goals, your risk tolerance, your overall retirement plan, especially given all the uncertainty in the world today?
It's about finding what works best for you.
Right. And thinking outside the box. I mean, gold has played this unique role in human history for thousands of years. And maybe it's time to consider how that enduring value could fit into your long-term financial strategy. Something to ponder, right?
Definitely.
Food for thought as we wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.